Hey, good evening, everybody. We have got Lionel back with us, ex-prosecutor, raconteur extraordinaire. And one of the main things we're going to be talking about this evening is that the Clinton judge has blocked Trump from releasing Epstein files. U.S. District Judge Richard Berman deemed Trump's Justice Department not provide adequate reasoning to unseal the highly protected materials. The grand jury motion was likely a diversion coming from the Trump administration. What do you make of this, Lionel?
I tend to agree. I hate to say it. I would have said it a little bit differently, but what the judge is saying is correct. Little background here, my dear friend. Under the federal rules of criminal procedure, there's a rule called 6E. And what it does is it imposes a strict secrecy on our grand jury proceedings. Now, for those of you who, I'm not sure if you have an equivalent of this in your neck of the woods, but we have two types of juries: a petit jury, which is normally the trial jury that hears the case and renders a verdict of guilty. But the grand jury is a special group of people that determine whether the government has enough evidence, whether there's enough probable cause to bring a charge. They act as a buffer between the sovereign and the people. And the thing is, it's secret, and disclosure is only allowed under very narrow, strict, and enumerated exceptions. And the part is, you have to understand that the court has found that releasing records, grand jury, would unfairly harm reputations and the due process rights of people named in the proceedings, but who were never charged. Or maybe there were minors, or maybe there are people who just were witnesses, or maybe a variety of things. The point is, you're going to let everything go. He also found there's no particularized need. There's no reason. They didn't just demonstrate any compelling reason why you have to let this go. This isn't Watergate. This isn't something special. So here's the good news. And I do agree. Now, let's be, if I could, a little bit, conspiratorial. Imagine that. What if somebody says, what if the Trump people said, listen, for whatever reason, we don't want to let this stuff out. So let's make a motion to the judge to release the grand jury opinion, knowing he's going to say no. So we can say, there you go. Don't look at us. We wanted to let it out. When the judge said, wait a minute, this is your case. You've got more information than any grand jury. Let it out. Go ahead. List all the suspects. List all the people that you investigated. List all the evidence you have. Not everything you have went to the grand jury. So they kind of like called their bluff. And I agree. Why? The grand jury is special. What if somebody testified and was reluctant? Maybe a doctor, maybe somebody said, look, I don't want to be involved in this. Don't worry, you're secret. Okay, I'll testify. And then that's going to be revealed. And think about, other people may flee. What if there's derivative cases? What if there are pending cases that could be compromised? What if somebody says, wait a minute, they got Attwood? Well, then I'm next. You mean he testified? He said he didn't. So I tend to agree. Shaun, just let the information out. They've got everything. It's theirs. They've got the state of Florida. They can do whatever they want. This, if I didn't know better, somebody somewhere says, we don't want this to get out. Now, little backward information. Have you been following the news about this Israeli cybersecurity fellow in Las Vegas? Okay. This is the part that I don't understand. And let me just back up a little bit. Maybe you're in the same position. I'm finding myself, Shaun, agreeing with people who I normally don't agree with, who for other political reasons and the like. But, there are groups of folks in the MAGA group, and I got to be careful to say this, who were of the belief that there were huge PDF file of folks.
PDF files, yeah.
Permeating everything. and there was a cabal from the spirit. Anyway, I'm not sure what words I can use, but Abramovich and all this kind of stuff. And for the longest time, they said, "What about this? What about all this stuff? The Hillary and the Wiener laptops." Okay, great. Well, now that they're in charge, they're saying, "Well, let's hear it." You're in charge now, and they're saying, "Well, maybe we're not so crazy about this." Wait a minute. You were the one who was responsible for making these claims. You brought up all this. I can't use the words, but you know what I'm talking about. Certain types of, different types of crusted Italian cheese items that were part of one, and then there was this one, and then so they're making a great point. Here's what I'm saying. Either admit you're not going to release this, or just forget about it. Either just say, we're not going to do it. Stop toying with us. Why are you constantly? It all started with Pam Bondi, who should have just kept her mouth shut when she said, first of all, she has a list, then she has files, and then documents, and then Dershowitz says, I've got files. And I mean, enough. They're just lying to us. And I tend to agree with the judge. You've got to have a good reason to explain it. Tell me what. Now, it's one thing if you are the defendant, let's say you're somebody who doesn't have access to the Department of Justice files. That's a whole other story. But you're the Department of Justice. Let us know. You could say, we have 150 victims, 150 suspects, and that's it. And we're going to let you know about some and not others. Do we still know what happened to Virginia Giuffre officially? No. Isn't that something? How is this? This is the part that makes me not furious, but I think I've just given up hope. This system is so corrupt that I don't even know if there's any words to describe how bad this is. I mean, I really think everybody, not just to dovetail. If you talk to any of your friends and say, I'll give you $50,000 in a new car if you can tell me what happened in Washington with the meeting with the European leaders and Trump and Putin and what happened, they still don't know. We don't even know that. Have you heard all these people, the Mearsheimers and this and that, all these we don't even know that. We're pretending that something happened. He didn't even come clean with that. What happened? On the way back, and I know we're changing the subject, but just to go to show you how nobody's answering anything, I'm sure that Keir Starmer turned to Macron and said, what the F was that all about? What was it? What happened? Do you know what happened? And Zelensky says, what about, do I keep the money? What do I do? Do I meet someone? Putin's laughing his ass off because he said, I'm not going to. So the media, I blame the media. God bless Shaun Attwood. And God bless Lionel Nation. And God bless us who say, wait a minute, we're holding you account. Nothing happened here. Nothing happened here. The other day, somebody was talking about Virginia Giuffre, and I'm not even sure. I want to go back to her because, Shaun, not to be corny, but we speak for them. Nobody cares for her. Nobody. This was a human being that they used her, they abused her, they probably offed her, and the least we can do is say, is there anybody who has any kind of tox screen? Do we have any blood results? Do we have any? Can we see? Nothing. Recently, there was a case, you probably heard it, of the 98-year-old coroner in the Marilyn Monroe case, Thomas Noguchi. He has this book. He says, I want to come clean. I don't think we did it. Now he's saying this. It's like, forget Marilyn Monroe. By the way, if ever you want to talk about that one, that's a great one because that's so obvious. What about Virginia Giuffre? What about Epstein? I know nobody cares about Epstein, but you know what happened to him. And the official story does not comport with the evidence. So Name it. And here's what happens, Shaun. They're laughing at us. We're just spinning our wheels. You're having a great time. It's great, great for the YouTube biz. Great for this. But we're kidding ourselves. We'd like to see somebody at least acknowledge us and just tell me. Remember the old expression where it says, kiss me, kiss me, kiss me. I like to be kissed when I'm being, just kiss me. Whoever's in charge of this, stop lying to me. Stop lying to us. Say, we're not going to give this to you. We're not going to give you this. Stop having these, Pam Bondi, what about the tens of thousands of the terabytes? I mean, it is, do you think maybe you've done the same thing that I do. I give the enemy too much credit. I think it's all part of a cabal, of a psyop, cognitive dissonance. I don't know. They're doing it on purpose in order to make us, I don't know. I don't know what the hell to call this. It's very, very simple. I have done these things like you prosecuted cases like you can't believe. Normally, when you are involved in, let's say there's some cases, sometimes we've seen it with the Catholic Church. Maybe there's a cardinal, maybe there's whatever. Maybe you might want to have, okay, some people, whatever, but we're going to give somebody up. We're going to give somebody up. We're going to give some underling. We're going to give a guy who worked for Microsoft or somebody, anybody, people who are dead. You know, you would know this. You've had your brushes with the justice and, by the way, extricated yourself perfectly. Whom do you give up? Somebody who's dead. Bill Richardson. That's the guy. Give up somebody who's dead. He did it. Who? The dead guy. He did it. He was responsible. And they'll say, oh, okay, sully his name. You can't libel the dead. They don't give up anybody. Nobody. And they're laughing to the point where Ghislaine Maxwell, again, is sitting back saying, now she's in Florida. How much you want to bet she's not even in the United States? How much you want to bet one day she's just gone? She just goes away. And she collects her money from some Cayman Island account. She's just gone. And you know what'll happen? Nothing.
So she's in a minimum security federal prison camp in Texas, where it's a violation of the department's rules to even send someone with her conviction.
Right.
And the administration are telling us it's perfectly normal for her to be moved there. Like a double slap in the face on top of the pantomime of them pretending to release the files.
Well, she's also, isn't she with the Theranos chick? So she's like, she's laughing her. I mean, listen. I want to make it even more weird. Okay. Let me go back a little bit. One of the things in my life that changed my life, I'll never forget, it was in school. We had the black box. Maybe you had this as well. They gave us this black box and it was sealed. He goes, what's inside? He goes, oh, don't open it. I said, and I'm shaking him. Ooh, there's something round. I think there's a marble, there's something sliding. And that's what there's something in there. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure, but I can only go so far unless I open it up. I can only kind of give you I think there's 2 things, 3 things. That's what I'm doing with this. I have an idea kind of sort of what this is. I don't even know. I don't even know. If I ran this show, I'm going to say, we're going to disappear Jeffrey somewhere. He'll just go away and it's all over with. Nobody knows his name, even in New York. Somebody say, hey, whatever happened to Jeffrey Epstein? He just didn't show up. Never find a body. Kind of a Judge Crater, as we say here. Just gone. That would have been the end of it. End. And they close up shop and they probate their will. And that's it. Doesn't that make sense to you? Or if you do pick him up at Peterborough Airport in New Jersey, you don't bring him to a federal holding cell and do your dirty work there and put him in a cell with a guy who's looking at the death penalty. I mean, it's like they do things. Let me give you an example of something. Remember, if you're going to do something, do it in front of everybody. If I walked up, if I said, ladies and gentlemen, there was a guy years ago, it was a terrible case, Bud Dwyer. Remember the guy who he He was giving a press conference. He was charged with corruption. And he says, wait, nobody go yet. Wait, don't go. And he has a paper bag and okay. If I was there, I said, wait. What is it? Just to show you something. And then bang, somebody next to me. And then say, what was that? What was what? What did you just do? You think I would do this in front of you? You just did it. Do you think I'm crazy? Seriously, are you nuts? Do you understand how that doesn't make any sense? You did it. And then you're wondering, am I losing my, is it me? I don't understand this. Am I? And then you and I talk, and I talk to you, and we talk to this one. And then Dershowitz comes in, who I don't even know what his story was. Listen, I know he was never charged, but Virginia Giuffre confused him with somebody else. Who? Bozo the clown? Who? Okay, that's your story. Fine. Who am I to? God for. Does that make any sense to you? Remember the cases between David Boies, the lawyer, who was her lawyer, and they were doing all these counterclaims for libel and crossing, and they were suing everybody. And just kind of went away. Just sort of went away. Just sort of went away. And then we have this case to throw again, because people are saying, do you think there's any kind of an Israeli, not a Jewish, don't say Jewish, it's Israeli. Do you think there's an Israeli connection? I don't know. Ehud Barak, Les Wexner, him, but maybe. Then we find out this Las Vegas case, in Las Vegas, they don't even take his passport. And who runs Las Vegas? Miriam Adelson. And now put it this way. It's like, I'm going like this. I'm hearing animals coming out of this. I go, what is this? Is anybody curious about this? Anybody? Does anybody say, wait a minute, hold it. This doesn't make any sense. Where are the victims groups that say, what about us? We don't know anything. And what's happening is that we, Shaun, are being, not us, but I mean, collective we, the royal we, are being told on a regular basis, just stop asking questions. We're going to just get tired of this one day and just stop talking about it. Just stop talking. By the way, another, just to give you an idea, this Marilyn Monroe story, as an aside, we've known this. You know that she supposedly, here's the story then. You don't even need any special DNA. You don't have to be Quincy. She supposedly took 50 Nembutal. She couldn't swallow a pill. There was no water found in her room. In the old days, in 1962, they didn't have bottled water. She had a glass. There was nothing. That's that guy. That's Mr. Gone. But just since 1962, people said, her assistant said, there's no way, there were no pills found in her. It might have been an enema or something. Anyway, so that's been there. Nobody said, what are you waiting for? I'll talk about it. Bobby Kennedy Jr. won't even talk about the person who killed his father. I don't understand this. The Kennedy family doesn't care. Nobody cares. Does anybody care about the victims of Epstein? Who? We're talking about it. And let me tell you something. This MAGA group, or whoever these people are, whatever, they were going nuts with this stuff. Don't you understand that? They were going after Hillary and this and that. And there was this control. And now it's like, finish the job. You're in charge, Mr. President. All you've got to do is say, I'm going to commission. Think about this. I'm serious. I'm going to deputize a journalistic militia, of individual truth seekers. Go out, do it on your own. And we have. So we say, thank you, Mr. President. May we have any of the files? No. What about the grand jury? We don't want the grand jury file. I don't want that. I want your files. Department of Justice, State Attorney's Office, or the Attorney General in the state of Florida, which she would have had. That I want to start with that. Who was granted clemency, or who was granted immunity, or nothing. It starts with him. I can't go any further with that. I can't go. And the judge, I'm sorry, he might be Clinton appointee. He's absolutely right. Do you believe me? There are people right now who appear only before grand juries because they are told You will protect me. And if the word gets out, well, I hope to God nobody asks for your name if you're involved in some kind of a case of some kind of some, what am I trying to say? Some note, because we're going to give your name up. We're going to give it up. So people are going to say, I'm not going to testify. No way. So I understand what he's saying. So Shaun, here we are. How many times we've been talking about this? Now, the best one, I'm gonna throw another one in here that nobody needs it, nobody or somebody should be talking about. The Diddy connection. Shaun, do you realize this is the guy who beat the federal government at racketeering? Nobody beats the government at racketeering. Sex trafficking. Nobody does. He did. What was that about? Did they do that to seize files, to put them? I don't know. What was that about? Why is Comey's daughter involved in something, this botched case, mission accomplished, where he walks? I am still, I've asked all my friends of mine in the legal biz, and it's also, Shaun, some friends who allegedly are parts of certain Italian-American organizations that know a little bit about this, and they're saying, beat a racketeering charge? Do you know that, just to give you an idea, when you are brought up on that, the Department of Justice goes through it and says, almost guarantees a conviction. They will say, we're not going to sign this off on this unless this is really good. And during the Diddy case, I was telling everybody, this isn't racketeering. And people aren't, we talked about this, and people say, oh, you're out of your mind, you're crazy. I'm telling you, just like I'm telling you, by the way, ahead of time, Candace Owens is headed for a fall, big time, but nobody realizes it. Nobody wants to talk about it because we look at criminal cases or court cases, whether we like people or not. Do we like them? This is a weird story. So this makes people have no faith in the criminal justice system. It makes us look stupid. What exactly they're doing to us regarding Epstein, what they did to the EU and Starmer regarding Ukraine? Nothing. They said, well, what did we learn? Nothing. They got back. Thank you. Trump brought him to the White House. Here's my hat. See my hats? See my hat. Okay, fine. And did you see the way they sat in front of him like children? Do you know how this broke every kind of protocol? This was like a psych. This was like a psyop. This was like, wow. This was weird. They gaslighting him, And let me tell you something. Okay, y'all happy now? Now give him a goodie bag. See you later. Didn't tell him anything. Same thing with us. Same thing with us with Epstein. They don't tell us anything. I don't know what they're doing. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, I think he's on the way out. Now we have this new co-assistant FBI director. We don't know anything. It's unbelievable.
So my theory is that America is a military dictatorship, and that there is only a semblance of democracy.
Gee.
And that Trump can only go so far. He may want to end the war in Ukraine. He may want to release the Epstein files, but you're going up against the military apparatus that's tied in with the CIA and the Mossad and all of this huge network that's preventing anything substantial from being released, because they're gesturing over and over again like they're going to release something, but it's just absolute pantomime.
Well, I think Trump put it this way. Did you, again, I don't know if you have this, but in the U.S. here, we have these different schools. If you're in, high school, or you can have this thing called a student council. And I remember when I said, would you run for student council? I said, what the hell can the student council do? No, it's a student council. I said, what can the student council do? The people who run it are the principals and the school boards, and they run it. When little Ziggy sits in the car seat, do you give him that little thing with a wheel? Oh, look, Ziggy's driving. Ziggy thinks he's driving. Hey, look, I'm driving. You're not going anywhere. I'm driving. But you feel like you're driving. It looks like you're driving. You might really honestly believe you have some say in where we're going, my son, but you don't. I'm running the show. And what we do is we put on these little Panama. We'll let you do some stuff every now and then. You can go after some, border encroachers. But for the most part, when it really comes down to it, you're not in charge. It's a shadow government that runs this. And by the way, it goes all over the world.
Which is what Kennedy found out the hard way, and it's why his family are still afraid.
Among other things. Not only that, they're also paid off by USAID, AID. And by the way, we're finding out about that. We're talking about something. This is a Gordian knot. If you've ever been fishing, sometimes you look at the spool and it's so tangled up. You say, throw this thing away. I can't untangle this. It's a mess. That's what this is. And so what we do is we love to sit and we love to pretend that we're doing something. And we love to. And yet, here's the best part. If we say the wrong thing, they shut us down as though we're anywhere near the truth. Like there's anything we can do. Wait a minute. Did you say Mossad? Why you? That's a name they give that's sort of, it's fun. They love to play with our love of intel and codes and Wetworks and Mockingbird and Paperclip. We love that stuff. And we love to think like, ooh, look, they declassify. I got your declassified right here. You declassify nothing. They let you think. They have this Freedom of Information Act. Okay, well, we'll let you know that. It's a joke. It's beyond a joke. But the thing we need to do is we need to have some rational people, because let's face it, most people are too busy trying to get their own numbers up. Like, for example, Tucker Carlson. Don't you think he's lost that oomph? You know who the two people who I think are the next to you, my friend, but the two people who I think are the most interesting? Laura Loomer and Nick Fuentes, because they drive people crazy. They're absolutely like, oh my God, there's nobody who does it. Even Candace Owens is like, nice try. Candace has her own, but of our Charlie Kirk and there's so many people. Listen, I can't go through the list of Tim Pool and they don't do anything. The one who has got people scared out of their mind is Laura Loomer, because she talks about something, and Nick Fuentes. And I know whenever they say he's a racist, he's a this, he's an anti-Semite, I like him. Why? Well, the only time you call somebody that is when they're saying something that's great. Okay? This is the part that's the most important.
You got a question from Anne No. Can Lionel explain more about Candace Owens and how she's going down, please?
You keep thinking, not you. People keep thinking that her whole thing is, I think Brigitte Macron's a man. I think you'll say, but I say, that's not what this is about. Did you read the 22 counts of the complaint? 200 over pages. They accuse him of every crime you can imagine. Accuse her of her Brigitte's his father. Just wild. And then not only that Macron himself was part of some intel or whatever it is. If you get a jury, if you get some, I don't want to say middle-aged woman, but if you get some sensible woman who comes across and says, this woman's a nut, and we're going to teach her a lesson. She's saying stuff that's just crazy. And then you can say, and then let me explain the next step of this. For the first time, you're having in our country, the idea of somebody, a politician suing for what you said. Trump did it a couple of times regarding Melania, but she was almost like a private citizen. But today, people say, don't even bother, because the stuff they heave at you. This is a test case. The next one, if this is successful, wait till Michelle Obama comes forward and says, let me tell you what you said about me. Now, what happens is, remember, what this is? This is an extension of lawfare. So when you sit her down and you sit Candace Owens down and say, tell me how you, tell me. She's a man? Prove it. Well, her hands, nice try, honey. You got to prove it? I'm going to put on a birth certificate, which is in most jurisdictions, that's as good as gold. I got her children. I got the doctor. I got this. We're not going to have pudendal inspection and all this stuff. I'm going to go. So by what, where did you get this from? The two people who had their cases dismissed, not because they were wrong, but because of due process. Where did you get this from? See, Candace is on some kind of one. She's just piss and vinegar. She thinks she could. See, she has this thing. Now we're going off on her, but if you want to know, she has this thing about authenticity because she knows she's not authentic herself. She's a phony. And the thing that she went after Kamala Harris. Why? Because you're not black. You're Irish or something. Remember that one? Whatever the hell that was. Why? She hates authentic. Why? Because she's projecting. A lot of people have said, why is this white woman trapped in a black woman's body? You have nothing to do with you. And they've told her you've denied your race, whatever that means, which is ridiculous. She's very smart and talented. You married some white guy. You have nothing to do. Who are you? So what is her thing? She hates people who are not authentic. She goes after Brigitte Macron, not authentic. Kamala Harris, not authentic. Why? Because it's projecting what she is. She's a phony, and she's angry, and she comes across, and now she says stuff. Let me explain something to you. There are people who make some very good claims about what Netanyahu and what Israel are doing, and they have nothing. They're not in any way construed as anti-Semitic. I don't believe, because they're saying, look, this is not about Judaism, not about a religion, because there are people who are Jewish who have the same problem. But when you hear this virulence, when you see the spittle, the Zionism, she scares me. Put it this way, she may not be an anti-Semite, but this is what an anti-Semite looks like.